Welcome to the Ultimate Coach Podcast, Conversations from Being, inspired by the book, The Ultimate Coach, written by Amy Hardison and Alan Thompson. Join us each week with the intention of expanding your state of being, and your experience will be remarkable. Remember, this is a podcast about being. It is a podcast about you. To explore more deeply, visit theultimatecoachbook.com. Now, enjoy today's conversation from Being.
Welcome back. My name is Philippe Bartu, and today's episode is called The 4 Words That Created an Olympic Champion. It's really an extraordinary story, and my guest here who's going to share it with us is the wonderful Lindsey Capp. Lindsey, so good to be here with you.
Thank you. I'm excited to share all of this with everybody.
Lindsey and I, we started talking a little just before we hit record, and she shared such an amazing story. I just had to stop her and said, save it. I want to hear this fresh and I want to be with it. So you're in for a treat, I promise you. Listen to this is an extraordinary story of possibility from adversity. It is a story of Ronnie. And I'll let you introduce who Ronnie is and take it from there.
Okay, thank you. So I have 3 children. I have my eldest, Ellie, who's now 22. And then I have my middle child, Ronnie. So I had experience of being a mother with my eldest, Ellie. And then you have your second child. And anybody who has a second child knows that you compare everything to your first. And so when Ronnie was born, he did everything differently. He didn't do the speaking, the goo-goo, the gagas. He reacted very differently. He ate very differently. He didn't play like I'd experienced before. And so I noticed that all my expectations of what Ronnie should or shouldn't be doing was being challenged. He used to hum. He didn't say words. He used to bang his head off the floor. Extreme behaviors. He would claw at his face and throw his head back. There would be such a frustration and a fear in me of not knowing why my little baby was not happy and why things weren't going to plan. And over the period of the first year, the healthcare and the professionals were, it's just the way, babies are, they're different. And then in the second year, I couldn't take him swimming. At play groups and the mums groups, he would just sit facing a wall with one train, and it had to be that train, and he would just move it side to side for a whole hour. And if I tried to intervene, he would scream and claw at his face, and the noise, and everyone would be staring and looking, and there would be that feeling inside of me of helplessness. So much of that time was so challenging. And when I asked for the help from the it wasn't social workers, it was social care and the professionals and the midwives, it was wait until he's at school. And when he's at school, if there's a problem, then you get the help, which to me was insanity. Why would we wait for him to have severe issues in his learning years? Why can't we intervene now and help and support? So I took video footage because it was so severe. I needed people to see what I was seeing and hear what I was hearing. And in taking the video footage over and over, I then went and actually protested at the social centre. So where the midwives were, there was also the child psychologists, and they refused to see me. So I actually made a stand and protested and said I wasn't going to move until somebody watched this video footage. The police were called. It was horrific. I was treated like some kind of, crazy woman. You do become crazy when you love so intensely and feel helpless. You will do anything to be heard. And so from there, the lady was coming out. I was so fortunate. It's like the universe had my back. The lady came out of the office and she just said, get off of her. And this lady had been in the industry for 50 years and was retiring that day. It was her last session. She said, she lifted me up and said, come into my office. And through her heart, through her being, she watched my video footage. I was in a real state and I said, please just watch it. Please see what I see. And she watched it and instantaneously she gave me the diagnosis that my son was severely on the autistic spectrum. And I had no idea around autism. And I said, what does that mean? What's the implications of that? And she said, he probably won't go to mainstream school. He won't make friends like other children. He won't speak to you and say, I love you and I feel this. And he probably won't drive a car. He'll need assistance for the rest of his life. In the fact that I had pushed for it, in that moment, my heart sank where I came out of that office. Although I wanted the help, that diagnosis felt like that my child had died in the possibility of what was possible for him. That caused tremendous strain on my relationship with his father. And there was on his side, he'll be fine, just a cast off. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I was working for child protection in social services at the time, and I knew that I had absolutely no hope of learning how to be his mum because I had no idea how to love into this dictation, this need. I didn't know how. So I gave up my job. I learned the autistic spectrum and the whole variants of it. And I learned also something called PECS, which is Picture Education Dictation System, which is how to communicate through pictures. And so I created a whole book. I took thousands of photographs of Ronnie's environment and world, and I laminated those down into very small little squares on a Velcro book. And we learned to communicate together with pictures. And from there, it would only be grunts like, but it was a communication. And then I found a primary school, where I asked them to come and observe Ronnie. And could I sit in and teach the teaching staff how to communicate using this picture book? It was the book of Ronnie, really. We have the book of being. I had the book of Ronnie. And this amazing headmaster, who my youngest daughter is now in the school. So she's 11. He said yes. And that was the revelation where, through the consistency, Ronnie started speaking at 5. Now, I also found him a club at gymnastics where he was free, because the constraints and the dictation of how he had to be in the baby groups and the clubs, he couldn't hold. So I found gymnastics where he was free to express himself and do what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it. Roll it on. Ronnie learnt to use his isms, that's what I call his special, unique ways of being, to actually create a magnificent world for himself without his insight, just with my ability to love him in every given moment. When he would lash out, I would just wrap my arms around him and just hold him and just say, it's okay. It's okay. I'm here. It's okay. And in that consistency of everything that showed up for him being okay, He learned how to really be in the world. Roll it on. And Ronnie went into a gymnastics competition, and he went to elite level. He consistently would do repetitions. He would have skin on his hands hanging off, and he would continually go because his isms were the gift of consistency without the voices of anything else coming in. Ronnie then went on to be in the competition at the London Open Arena, the same arena that Max Whitlock and international Olympians were competing in London. And first of all, it was the under 12 boys. Now, this is the men's artistic gymnastics. This isn't special needs. This isn't improvised in any way. This is the top of the top under 12 boys in men's artistics. So you have 7 pieces of equipment. You have the ring, exactly how you see it on the Olympics. The rings, the pole vault, everything. So there he is doing his thing. There's 75 boys from all over the UK, England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. You have the morning section, and Ronnie was doing incredibly well, and he was in the running for the top 5. He was actually at the top in the morning. Then in the afternoon, you have the second set because there's 75 and they split them up. We're watching to see as the scores come in. It's like a pecking order. And somebody turned to me and said, he's done it. He's done it. He's won. Every time I say this, it never gets old. My heart just fills, and I feel that emotion again of, wow, just wow. In that moment, my son stood on the podium in the number 1 spot, lights on him, and they all clap, and it's magnificent. My little man stood on that podium at 12, well, he was 11, with a gold medal and silvers and bronzes all put round his neck. And in that moment, they said he would never go to mainstream school. My son passed his 11 plus and he's at the top grammar school. My son stood on the podium for who he was because I didn't listen to somebody else dictate who he could be or who he couldn't. And in that moment, my heart filled of, Ronnie is Ronnie. He has autism. He isn't autistic. It's
got it. Yeah.
Of who he is.
Yeah.
And that was the turning point of me really stepping into believing that a person can really be in possibility when we love from a non-expectation or a entitlement. That if we're in the purity of just loving what is in the moment and believing that everybody can create, that it's always possible. That, I believe, was the reason why my son stood as an Olympic gold medalist on that podium.
Absolutely incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's 2 things come to me. There's the part of loving what is, but also the part of being completely unwilling to accept anything other than the support that you needed for your son.
You know what, Philippe? There was a moment where I was very angry, and I was very angry. And I remember the words exactly. It was, and I hope it's okay to swear, but
Go for it.
Like, don't tell me what my fucking son is before he knows. Don't you
like, don't ruin his life. That's, like,
yeah.
like don't fucking ruin it for him. Like, let him, give him, like, this is a gift. Like, you just saw the gift in the isness, the gift in, like you say, this consistency that is off the charts. Something that, I mean, I don't know any adult, let alone 12-year-old kid who's, doing gymnastics and is, like at that level and just totally, totally, totally committed in the way that you were totally, totally committed as a mother to him and to being a mother that makes everything okay and loves what is.
Yeah, because anything outside of that would have been suffering for us both.
Yeah.
That I was not willing at any point to believe anybody over my son on who he can be.
Yeah. And it was ultimately a stand first and foremost for yourself.
Yeah.
For yourself and then for your son.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's so powerful.
You're spot on, is that my whole life had been what I wasn't and what I didn't have.
Yeah.
And when you come with such love for your child, sometimes it takes that to really direct what's truly in your heart for yourself. But it came through the channel of this little innocent boy at 2.5 years old, this blonde, curly, blue-eyed, lovely little lad, so lost. I could see me in him.
Yeah.
And in that dictation, all unconscious, but don't tell me this is who he is. How can you know? How can you know? Because he's unique. He's not a book. He's not a structure. He's not a creation of you or what somebody else has been. He's fresh. He's new. He's pure. How can you know? And I wasn't willing. I think that's the key, is for the first time in my life, I wasn't willing for another human being to dictate in that moment what was possible, because I was so stuck in probably my own pain, if I'm really honest, of me wanting to break so free myself. But
I'm going to let's make this real as well. Like, there were some big costs that you paid in taking that stand.
Yeah.
You didn't say it this way, but I'm gonna guess that one of the costs was your relationship.
Yeah, it was because there was a determination in me of a not willingness and a drive, and it was, you're either on board or you're not, and that's okay. I mean, the kid's father, we're best of friends, and we have the most amazing co-parenting relationship, and it's fantastic. And what I would say is I trust, and the reflection is everything happened the way it needed to happen.
Right.
Ronnie was born to me for who I am in my being.
Yeah.
And he was gifted to me to help me to do the work and the love and learn so much.
Yeah. Wow.
Amazing.
From this story, which has really shaped who you are today and everything that you're creating, and we're going to get to more of that. But something in the context of Steve Hardison happened that opened up a framework to what was behind Ronnie's success. What's the story behind that?
So, live event. So I get a message to say that there's going to be a live event. The book of being is out, and I'm reading the book, and then there's an event coming, and it's all the best of the best in the creating world of beings going to be there. And I was like, wow, this sounds incredible. And
are you talking about the event in London?
Yeah, in London.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, in London. I think everyone's in London. So, then there's a post, and the post says Enneagram 8s. I'm calling Enneagram 8s, and I have a gift, and I'd like all Enneagram 8s. This is a post by Steve on Facebook, to get in contact. at the time I was with my partner, and he messaged me and he said, Steve Hardison's put this post on and you're an 8. Get in contact. And I was like,
get involved.
Yeah, like message. And I was like, no, it's not for someone like me. Like that, no, I can't do that. And he said, do it. So I just impulsively just said, hey, I'm an 8. Then we get a message to say he's selected 8 8s. And the instruction was, I want you to all get together. This is Enneagram 8s. I want you to all get together and I want you to decide who gets the ring. And I am gifting my Enneagram ring that I had personally made, that I've had, I think, around 20 years. Don't quote me on the figure, 15, 20 years. And I'm going to gift one of you with it. But you as 8s have to decide who it's going to go to. Now, this is insane because the personality trait of an 8 is strong, assertive, independent, resourceful, determined, action orientated. Every single 8 in this group is like, well, it belongs to me.
Is Steve Hardison himself an 8 as well?
He is, yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's doing. It's like putting 8 bulls in a ring and saying, right, fight it out.
Have fun.
From love. Yeah.
Right.
So we all get together and it's so funny, Philippe, because we're all there from the way of being in love.
Mm-hmm.
And we're being so disingenuous because our hearts are like, I want the ring, but I also want to be the person that says, you have the ring. So we're in this real paradox of, I want to be the bigger person, but I want the ring. So we're courting this and we're loving one another and sharing stories. Anyway, roll it on. And we really come to a conclusion, and it was beautiful. Steve's clever because you got 8s that really spent some time together, 8 8s. And we really evolved into the bigger way of being, which is it will happen the way it needs to happen. And that our way of being is primary in this. And this is our lesson. This is our gift. The ring isn't the gift. The process is the gift. The ring is the sprinkles and the cherry, if you like. But let's really stay in the process of being. Let's not lose sight of it in our egoic, low level 8. How can we really show up in our high level 8, which is really about we're willing to jeopardize ourselves for the greater good. So let's trust in the process. I mean, that was massive. That was everything. Roll it on. We're at the event. Nobody.
So hang on a sec. So you ended the call.
Yeah.
And the outcome was,
let's try.
It'll happen the way it happens. There was no trying to come to an agreement in that call. There was basically, it's going to happen the way it's going to happen. So that's how you left the call.
Yeah, we had a couple of calls, and the first call was, like balls in a ring. We all were in our egoic 8. And then through conversation, we really came to our high level Enneagram 8, which is the surrender of the egoic mind to come into the presence of what this truly is about.
I hear that.
Trust in the process.
Okay, so the process then took you to the live event in London.
Yeah, so we go to the live event, and very exciting, as you know, and Steve comes in, and there's, I never forget the way he walks in. It's like, stop judging. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah.
Whoa. And it was electric. And we come to lunch. Nobody knows what's going on. And then we're at the Thai restaurant, and the phone pings, and it says, Steve Hardison is in the waiting room. Be there in 5 minutes in the reception lobby. And we're like, oh my goodness, quick, the bill, leave the noodles, let's go. And we rush back to the lobby, and there's Steve, and there's, what's the other man's name who gave the talk? Karan,
Karan.
It is Karan.
Right. Yeah, it is Karan.
Yeah. So
Karan is probably the only man I've heard that is as consistent as your son, Ronnie.
yeah, 7 marathons. Crazy. It's lovely. I love it. So he was sitting there as well, and he's very suave, and Steve's sitting there, and there's a energy. And as I enter the room, the other 8s are sitting round. And so we're in a circle on the settees, and I walk in, and Steve says, wow, you're a picture. And straight away, I'm like, oh, I get a little rabbit in headlights, like trying to act cool, like it's an everyday thing. But I've never been in this environment before. And I remember just taking a breath and having an internal word that says, be me, just be me. And so I sat down, and Steve shared the story of the ring. And I'd love to share it. So the story of this ring was made because Steve had a unexpected attack, if you like, where he was in chronic pain and he actually thought he was dying. He was rushed to the hospital, and he says, and I might not have it spot on, but this is the outline. He said, I remember laying there in such agony that I thought, this is it. And I have regret that I've not lived my best life. As he laid there and the doctors came, and he really was in that, the doctors then found out that it was actually gallstones, that he had a number of gallstones that were stuck. He was rushed to surgery. They removed the gallstones. Steve came in this story from a perspective of this ring was then made. He was an Enneagram 8, and he had the Enneagram ring made. And he had it made because he wanted to be a stand for living a life with no regret, that he lived his best life in every minute, not knowing when the end would come. Mm. In the center of that Enneagram ring is a stone. And he asked us in that moment, have a look at the ring. What do you think the stone is? It is a unique stone. And he took it to a jeweler, and he said to the jeweler, if you can guess what this stone is, I don't know whether he said, I'll give you the ring or I'll give you an amount of money, but even the jeweler couldn't identify the stone. The stone were his gallstones.
Oh, wow. Far out.
He had them crushed and made, and he had the Enneagram sign made and designed. It's actually here, Philippe, and you people can't see it, but there it is. It's got the Enneagram symbol around it, and then his gallstones sealed inside to remind him to play his A game, to really show up. And he had 4 words engraved inside the ring. Now, he didn't tell us what the 4 words were. And he then leaned in and he leant forward, and he has such presence. He leaned in and he said, I'm going to ask each and every one of you now to say 1 word of what this ring will mean for you. Go. So he went to Karan, and Karan said his word. And then from nowhere, and I don't know to this day where it came from, because I just had this real presence of, can I go next? Because I didn't, again, the same story. I didn't want the outside world to affect my truth of what it was for me. I didn't want to listen and be affected, which is the same principle as my son. But I said, can I go? And he said, yeah. And I said my word. And then he went round and people said their words. And before he got to the end person, he reached across and he said, "Lindsey, this belongs to you." And in that moment, I can honestly say it was the same feeling. I actually shake now.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my body, which was, I did this.
I did this. Yeah.
Through who I am being, I just was being me.
Yeah.
So pure and so true. It was the same of joy, pure joy in that moment. Just felt so loved, so seen, so heard, so valued by life itself on what it was giving me back, of that feeling of being seen so purely, so lovingly, without trying, without agenda, just being, is incredible. And so my word was legacy. To me, Ronnie, all the work that we do, everything that we're involved in, is to create a legacy that goes on and lives on, that helps to create for the next generation and the next generation in possibility. That if I die in this moment, that there is a legacy through who I am being that allows impact on the next person.
Wow. And you know what I'm hearing is, it's not the word legacy, but you were being that legacy in sharing that word.
Right.
There could have been other people, even yourself included, that had said legacy, but it is the place from which you came from. I really hear that, and I'm moved by that. And what a beautiful and powerful reminder for all of us.
It was in that moment of coming from pure self. It wasn't about me getting the ring.
Right.
It was about me being a stand for what I truly believe I am, who I be, in the creation of possibility again. But this time, rather than me being a stand for my son, I was in that moment a stand for me.
Yeah.
And it felt...
Again, it was the same stand that wasn't going to accept anything less than help for your son. Yeah, it was that the access you had to that powerful way of being. Well, the access to who you really are.
Without the stories.
Yeah. So at what point did those 4 words reveal themselves to you?
So it was so exciting because all the 8s were there and they're like, what are the words? And there was part of me, I hadn't shared the words at all until this moment, that these words are what I believe are the creation of the legacy that we all are part of. So the words are, the first word on the ring is presence. And Steve said, these 4 words were my commitment to living the life that I love and playing my A game as an 8. Presence, being truly present in the moment of now. Because the next word is truth. Creating a truth that comes from the next word, which is innocence. When we see the innocence and create a truth and be so present, for the last word is awareness. In this new awareness, in this present moment, with this truth from seeing the innocence, anything is possible.
I'm just letting that sink in. Yeah. It feels like that's something that has been within you all along, yet seeing it made a profound impact. Well, I guess what I'm curious about is it's almost like something that's always been there, But when you see it in that simplicity, in that framework, in those 4 words, it kind of lands differently, doesn't it?
It's so pure.
Yeah, it's so pure. Yeah. Wow.
It has that profoundness of, we were truly born this way. And if we can live from this place more often than not, then we're going to lead one hell of a life.
Yeah.
And that this commitment to these 4 words really, for me, encapsulate everything. Is how did I survive having an alcoholic, self-harming mother, an abusive emotionally and physically father? How did I go through being kidnapped and homeless? And how did I go through all of those profound experiences to come to this, even now, speaking and sharing?
Yeah.
How does it all happen? Those 4 words for me. When we trust in becoming truly present without a past or a future entitlement or definition, we can create
and an unwillingness to be told who we are, what's possible, how we're limited. Yeah. You know, Lindsey, there's something I want to share that's just come to me from your sharing. And it's about 10 years ago, I suffered a downhill biking accident that was very severe. And I was with my brother and we would race a lot. And at the risk of, I took a curve and fell over and my foot just popped out. And it's a long story, but I took a helicopter and 8 men to carry me out of the ditch I fell into, and I was helicoptered to hospital. By the time I got to hospital, my foot had swollen so much that they tried to take my shoe off, but they were afraid that if they took my shoe off, the whole foot would be in their hands. That's how much little skin was left hanging on. And so because it had swollen so much, they said that they had to put some anti-swelling stuff, and they had to wait 12 hours before they could even do anything because there was so much swelling. And they said, typically in these things, there's a big chance that we're going to have to just cut your foot off and amputate because the swelling doesn't usually come down to the point where we can operate. And there was like a healthy disregard I had for that truth. There was a point where it was just like, that's a possibility. That's an opinion. That's just one thing. And in that moment, something magical happened. I just decided that I'm just going to be present with what is. I'm not going to entertain the stories of me losing my foot. But it didn't work very well because I also had, I'm human, right? So I also fell into this, what would it be like? And so conversations came up around artificial foots, and I was showing pictures, and I was like, no, I don't even want to see any of that. 12 hours later, through a series of just miracles, the swelling went down enough for them to say, we're going to do an operation, but just know there's an 80% chance that you will not be able to walk. And by that, I mean, no dancing, no driving, like all those things, right? But with an artificial foot, with the technology, there's still much more mobility you'll have today. And when I came out of the operation, they still, I had all these like things in my foot. I had like a metal rod on both sides, things sticking out. I didn't know. I looked at my foot and I just didn't even recognize anything. It was just so weird, and I was like, okay, it was kind of like drilled together. And, they said, well, good news, that, there were enough nerves for it to be intact. And I was actually able to move just, like one of my toes. And that was enough to say that the nervous system works. So from that, he said, well, it's, take you about 2 years to recover before you can actually put the full weight on your foot, and that'll require a lot of physiotherapy, and you may be able to walk one day. Now, my mum held my foot. My mum's an osteopath. She understands the body differently than traditional doctors. And she just felt all the liaisons, and she said, no, you'll be fine. You'll be able to walk. And it's weird because there's something I heard, I heard the truth in that. And that's something I could be present. Now, I didn't know when. And I saw the innocence in the doctors doing their job, preventing, wanting to really just say it as it is. And then the awareness piece came when I got to see that I can choose. I actually get to choose how I want to deal with this.
Yeah.
I decided that I was going to walk in 2 months. And I didn't wait for physiotherapy. I just got out and started moving as much as I could. I had crutches and I would just go up and down the stairs. And every day I was able to do a little more and more. I don't know where it came from. It just came from a decision that I'm going to walk. In 2 months, I was jogging. I was dancing.
Oh my goodness.
I was free.
Wow.
And, I've never shared that story like that in this way, but it just felt like the story that you shared, everyone has that story within them.
So true. So true.
And we can recognize that in others. And when we don't accept a diagnosis, we're free to create a possibility beyond what we're told.
Way beyond.
Yeah.
Way beyond.
Way beyond. Yeah.
Months.
It was. Yeah. Yeah. And since then, my legacy has been to have a healthy disregard for what's possible.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that is true freedom. True freedom.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And that actually creates just that way of being. I know we talk about being, but it's so profound when it is so heart-centered. The power of it is electric and miracles. I mean,
that's right.
2 years to 2 months. It's a miracle.
Yeah. It's not. It's like you say. Yeah. It's extraordinary. It's beyond explanation. Yes. Yeah. It is. It is.
And if I showed you the videos of my son, there's no way you would see who he is now.
Oh, you know what I would love is if you could share that. And I'm sure there are listeners that would love to see that. Maybe we could post that in the show notes. Yeah. And I'm sure there would be other people as well that would love to see Ronnie in action. Yeah,
definitely. I can show. Yeah. There's a lovely video of him doing his pommel, and he's falling off, and then you see him doing the show. I mean, it's incredible. But again, the willingness. You said the word, Philippe. I wasn't willing.
Yeah.
I think that really is the beginning of the process of the miracles that we can create. Is, are you willing?
Yeah.
Are you willing to choose to become very present in your choice right now? And that's the truth in which you create from. And it has to have an innocence attached to it without a dictation of expectation. And from that awareness, everything becomes just a gift. Just a gift.
And it starts with the awareness of choice.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. That's actually the first. I would put awareness as number one. I would play around with that.
Yeah. Well, it's the ring, you see.
Actually, it's non-linear because anything can be. It's like the 8. It's There's no real order to it. But yeah, I like Peter because it reminds me of the wonderful bread.
Yeah, exactly. But doesn't it just, I hear stories like your story of just how you overcome the outside dictation of the limitation of what somebody else has experienced, even in professionalism.
Yeah.
That we must always stay present to our own willingness to create.
Yeah.
That we never lose touch of that, or we put somebody above us, or we step into like a guru, they know better.
Yeah.
No one knows you like you.
That's right. That's right. I actually heard someone say this the other day: when you put someone on a pedestal, or when you look up, or they know better, you're actually looking down on yourself.
Absolutely. That's just beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. And there's no freedom because it's not coming from an I. It's coming from a man.
Yeah.
So to me, I mean, I have this ring on, behind me, I have the medal of Ronnie. In front of me, right here, I have Steve's ring. And it's not there for me to use it as Steve gave me his ring. That is the ring of how to create being powerfully that we all come from.
Right.
That is all of us. That ring is all of us. We're all in that.
So I know you're in the East Midlands, and I want to give you an opportunity to share about something exciting that's coming up at the end of the month. I know that along with two other wonderful guests we've had on the show, JP Morgan and Darren, who coming together, the three of you, for a very special event. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
I'd love to. So on the 30th of June this month, we are doing a 2-day love and money event, which is really, it's spectacular. It's really helping people to create powerfully in how they hold stories of themselves, how they create the book of themselves. Just how we're networking, with the being movement on being trainers of how to create a powerful way of being, a book of your own, a story of self that creates so powerfully from, presence and creating a new truth. We're very fortunate to have Stuart Pearce, who is the voice coach to the King here in the UK. And he is a magnificent man. So collectively, this is an in-person event that really is about exactly what we've been talking about. How to create the freedom to speak an I that is so pure, that is full of innocence, that just feels joyful to be out in the world. So anybody who is really resonating with the champion in themselves, the gold medalist in them, we all have a gold medalist sitting within us, and locating that and creating the way of being and driving from that. That's what we're here to create on this event, 2-day event at the end of this month. So if anybody's interested, to go across to creating and get their ticket, because it's going to be phenomenal.
I have no doubt, Lindsey, you are a champion of champions.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
For those that really resonate with what you've shared and want to connect with you and get in conversation with you, what would be the best way for them to reach out and to find out more about what you're up to and your work?
Yeah. So there's 2 ways you can get through to me. You can come directly to lindseycapp.com, which is through my website, and also through Creating. We do some amazing work at Creating, and on the Creating website, you can get in touch with me there and the rest of the team. So multiple ways, Facebook, just reaching out on Messenger, nothing too technical, but if you want to be in powerful conversation on how to elevate your way of being for yourself, for others, and in the world, I would welcome a conversation with anyone.
What a beautiful invitation, Lindsey. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your sharings. What an inspiration you are. And I'm going to ask you for those videos of Ronnie. I look forward to watching those.
Yeah.
And for all of those of you going to London, what an amazing treat you're in for. Thank you so much. It's been a real delight to have you with us.
Thanks, Philippe.
Thank you for listening. If you know someone who would benefit from today's conversation, please share this podcast with them. Also, we invite you to visit theultimatecoachbook.com so you can continue your personal exploration of being. There you will find links to join our wonderful community, get your own copy of the Ultimate Coach book, and more. Simply go now to www.theultimatecoachbook.com. That's www.theultimatecoachbook.com. The link is also available in the show notes. We appreciate your support. Be blessed. Be you.